The cub's roar cut through the air like a blade of thunder. Cadets froze mid-breath. Even the instructors went still. The creature was a blur of claws and fury, four-legged, plated in dark violet scales, eyes burning molten gold. It had broken through its handler's restraint field, leaping from the pen in pure primal terror. And it was charging straight toward the line of alien cadets. Straight toward her. Human cadet Mara Delane didn't move. Not at first. The others, Crictians, Veilites, Thorin Bridlings, scattered back, armor scraping the steel floor. One of them shouted, "Weapons! Raise!" But Mara only tilted her head. Her brown eyes widened, not with fear, but recognition. She'd seen that look before. On Earth, it was in the eyes of stray dogs cornered under collapsed bridges. The same trembling panic, the same desperate defiance. The cub's claws screeched across the deck. It howled, a guttural, alien sound that made even the armed Veilite instructors take a step back. But Mara did something no one expected. She laughed. Just a single, bright, human laugh that echoed across the training bay. Then she dropped to a crouch, set her rifle aside, and opened her arms wide. "Come here, baby monster!" she yelled, voice filled with reckless warmth. Gasps erupted around her. The instructors shouted for restraint drones. But by then it was too late. The cub lunged, all teeth and fury. And stopped. Claws inches from her face, the cub froze. Its nostrils flared, head twitching as if confused by her lack of fear. Its growl broke into a trembling whine. Mara didn't flinch. She smiled, slow and steady, whispering in the same tone you'd use for a frightened child. "That's it, little one. You're okay." The entire training hall went silent. The alien cadets watched as the monster, their species' most feared predator even in infancy, pressed its forehead against the human's chest and let out a low, vibrating rumble. A purr. Mara scratched gently between the creature's armored scales. Behind her, the instructor's voice came out like gravel. "By the stars. It's imprinting on her." Dozens of eyes turned toward the human, some filled with awe, some with disgust. The Crixian cadet muttered, "Impossible. It should have gutted her." Mara looked up, still smiling, hand resting on the cub's snout. "It didn't need to fight," she said softly. "It just needed someone who didn't treat it like a weapon." For a long time, no one moved. Then the cub, a creature bred for war, curled up at her boots and fell asleep. The silence that followed was heavy, reverent, broken only by the slow hiss of the restraint drones powering down. And in that stillness, every alien cadet knew one thing for certain. Humans didn't belong in the galaxy's academies because they were strong. They belonged because they were something else entirely. Far above, in the academy's observation deck, Admiral Zethan watched the human girl stroke the sleeping cub, his people's sacred beast. And for the first time in his long career, the old warlord whispered to himself, "Maybe the humans are not conquerors. Maybe they're healers." He would soon learn how dangerous that kind of power truly was. The morning after the incident, every corridor in the Galactic War Academy of Vale Prime buzzed with rumor. A human had tamed a Dravic cub. No, she had mind-controlled it. No, she had broken a sacred taboo by touching it at all. Whatever the version, one name echoed through the halls. Cadet Mara Delane. The academy itself was a cathedral of alloy and light, suspended above a turquoise gas giant, its glass corridors stretching between colossal rings where recruits from 23 species trained to become peacekeepers and warriors. Every cadet learned the same code: control before compassion. Order before emotion. The humans, barely a decade into their membership in the Galactic Coalition, struggled with that creed from the start. That morning, Mara walked the main atrium with the cub padding beside her like a loyal shadow. Its claws clicked softly on the floor. The other cadets cleared a wide path, their eyes a mixture of fear and fascination. A Thorin cadet hissed, mandibles twitching, "You risk dishonor, human. The Dravic are not pets." Mara smiled without breaking stride. "Then it's a good thing he's not one. He's family now." The cub, who she'd started calling Nibbles, to the horror of everyone, snorted, tail-thumping once. In the observation bay above, Admiral Zethan and the instructors held a heated discussion. "She violated containment protocol," barked Instructor Varn, his silver scales glinting. "That beast could have torn her in half." Zethan's eyes stayed on the hollow feet of Mara sitting cross-legged while the cub slept with its head in her lap. "And yet it didn't," he said quietly. "Tell me, Varn, what kind of weapon defeats rage without striking it?" The instructor had no answer. When evening drills began, the test chambers were filled with whispering onlookers. Mara entered last, the cub following obediently through the doors. Her squad mates, 3 Veilites, 1 Crixian, stood at attention. The simulation flickered to life, a battlefield of ruined towers and holographic enemies. Targets activated, and the teams split into positions. Mara took cover, fired twice, then saw a smaller training drone approach the cub. The machine's sensors locked, labeling it hostile creature. "Don't!" she shouted, too late. The drone fired a stun bolt. The cub yelped, fell, then scrambled behind her armor plate, trembling. Mara's pulse spiked. Every instinct screamed to shoot back, but instead she turned her rifle on her own simulation console, blasting it until the system shut down in a burst of static. The chamber went dark. Smoke hissed. Silence. Then Mara knelt, gently lifted the cub's chin, whispering, "You're safe now, baby monster." When the lights returned, her entire team stood frozen, stunned not by defiance, but by empathy that felt more dangerous than any weapon. Later that night, Zethan visited her dormitory. The old warlord's armor still bore the scratches of 100 campaigns, his presence filling the small space. "You know," he began, voice deep and deliberate, "the Dravic species has never accepted a handler outside our kind. They are born of our world storms, shaped by our tempests. They obey only fear." Mara looked up from where she was cleaning a feeding bottle. "Maybe they just never met someone who didn't want to own them." The Admiral studied her. "You act from instinct. But instinct alone does not make command." "I don't want command," she said softly. "I just don't want him to grow up afraid." The Admiral left without another word. The next day, the Academy's broadcast channel replayed the footage of the original encounter. Cadets watched, instructors analyzed, and debates erupted across the campus networks. Was this human compassion, weakness? Or was it a form of strength none of them had learned to understand? Among the alien trainees, a quiet shift began. Some started addressing Mara not as primitive, but as Instructor Delane. Others secretly observed her training sessions, watching how she taught the cub through touch, tone, and patience, techniques alien cultures had long abandoned as inefficient. For the first time, empathy was being studied as a military skill. That evening, the cub woke from a nap and licked her cheek, a strange gesture of trust. Mara laughed, brushing the rough scales affectionately. From the doorway, Crixian Cadet Delor muttered, half impressed, half terrified, "You realize, human, if it bonds fully, it will fight for you to the death." Mara's smile faded just a little. "Then I'd better make sure it never has to." Far below the Academy, deep within the Planetary Defense Archives, Admiral Zethan watched another holo, one showing the cub's neural readings. The data glowed with an impossible pattern, empathy spikes mirroring the human's heartbeat. His hands tightened on the console. If this bond could spread, if human emotion could infect their war beasts, then the galaxy was about to learn a new kind of warfare. One built not on dominance, but connection. The following weeks at Vale Prime Academy were different. Training sessions felt quieter. Eyes lingered longer on the human girl and her unlikely companion. What began as whispers of mockery had shifted into something heavier, curiosity. The Dravic cub, once feared as uncontrollable, now followed Mara through obstacle courses, field drills, even meal halls. Where it once hissed at anyone nearby, now it tolerated touches, fed from her hand, and even nudged cadets it liked. To some, it was a miracle. To others, it was an abomination. One storm-gray morning, Mara woke to find her dorm door sealed and her comms muted. Outside, armored guards waited. "Cadet Delane," barked one. "Admiralty orders. Bring the creature." Her stomach dropped. She wrapped the cub in her training cloak, whispering, "It's okay, baby monster. Probably just a checkup." But her hands trembled. They escorted her to Arena Chamber Theta, a hollow dome lined with thousands of seats. High above, instructors, officers, and admirals filled the gallery. In the center stood 3 containment drones and a second Dravik cub, older, stronger, twice the size. Mara's pulse quickened. "What is this?" Admiral Zethan's voice boomed through the speakers. "A demonstration. To test your theory. To see if compassion truly commands loyalty." Her breath caught. "You want them to fight?" "Not want," Zethan said gravely. "Need." The drones released both cubs. At first, they circled each other, snarling, growling, tails whipping. Then the older cub lunged, fangs bared. The smaller one, hers, screeched in panic, tumbling backward toward Mara. She ran forward before the guards could stop her, throwing herself between them. "Stop! He's just scared." The older cub reared up, claws raised. Gasps echoed through the arena. Every alien in the chamber expected blood. But Mara didn't raise her weapon. She didn't move at all. She sang. A soft, trembling sound, barely a melody, more a whisper of breath and rhythm. Old Earth lullabies, hummed under starship decks, sung to restless orphans after raids. The sound drifted through the arena. The older Dravik froze. Its golden eyes flickered between rage and confusion. Slowly, its breathing changed. Mara stepped closer, hand out. "You're not enemies," she whispered. "You're family." Her cub crept forward, touching noses with the older one. The entire audience leaned in. The growls faded. 2 armored heads bowed against her hands. In that moment, broadcast live across every screen in the academy, the impossible happened. A human stopped a fight between 2 war beasts, without a single command or weapon. The silence that followed was absolute. Then came the shouting. "She broke protocol. She used unauthorized influence. Or she just changed everything we thought we knew." Zethan murmured, eyes still fixed on the human below. Back in the observation control room, biomonitors spiked. The readings from both Draviks showed synced pulse patterns, mirroring Mara's heart rate, her emotional waves. Empathy, transmitted across species. Instructor Varn slammed a clawed fist on the console. "This is contamination. The humans are infecting our war beasts with emotion." But Zethan wasn't listening. His mind raced. If one human could bridge such connection, could entire battalions of humans alter the tide of war not through domination, but bonding? The galaxy had always measured strength by control. But the humans, these fragile, laughing creatures, were teaching them another kind of power. Later, in the quiet of her dorm, Mara held her cub close. The second Dravik now slept in the corner, calm as if it had never known rage. She stared out the viewport at the gas giant's swirling storms and whispered, "Maybe this is what Earth was supposed to do out here, remind the stars how to feel again." Her comm buzzed. A single encrypted message flashed across her console. "Human fleet requests status report on Project Compassion. Do not reveal experiment to local command. Continue bonding process." Mara froze. Her stomach twisted. "Project Compassion?" she repeated under her breath. The cub stirred as if sensing her unease. So the humans did know what she was doing, maybe had planned it all along. But to what end? The next morning, alarms shattered the dawn. A fleet had entered Vale Prime's orbit, no transponder codes, no authorization. Alien cadets rushed to stations, instructors shouting orders. And in the chaos, Mara saw the impossible through the observation window. A Dravik war cruiser, its insignia torn, engines burning, signaling distress. The same species that had built the academy was under attack. And the only ones who could save them were the humans. The alarm klaxon screamed through the halls of the Vale Prime Academy as the planet's defense grid powered up. Outside the windows, the sky was alive with fire, fractured debris trails, explosions blooming like scarlet blossoms in the upper atmosphere. The Dravik Empire's enemies had arrived. Thousands of years of blood oaths and vengeance had finally reached this world, and humanity, barely a decade into galactic recognition, was about to witness their first full-scale interstellar war. Inside the cadet command chamber, confusion reigned. Instructors barked orders. Cadets stumbled to armor stations. Hollow screens filled with panicked data streams. But through the chaos, Admiral Zethan's voice cut sharp and clear. All personnel to defense posts. Shields to full. Evacuate civilians. Mara ran to the viewport, the cubs pacing nervously at her side. Who's attacking? She asked. The Admiral turned. Ras Coalition raiders. They want Dravik tech and the cubs' genome data. Her heart pounded. They'll destroy everything. He nodded grimly. That's why I need you to stay here, Cadet Delane. Mara stared at him. You're kidding. You are not a soldier in this war. He snapped. You are a variable we cannot control. I won't risk you or the creature. She took a step closer, jaw tight. With respect, Admiral, you already lost control the moment you let me stay. Before he could respond, the station shook violently, direct hit. Sirens wailed, lights flickered red. In the chaos, the cubs howled. Mara dropped to her knees, clutching their heads. Easy, babies, it's okay. It's okay. The floor vibrated beneath her hands. She looked up and saw fear in the eyes of the alien cadets around her. Warriors bred for war, frozen by terror. And something inside her snapped. She stood, armor locking into place, and looked at the terrified cadets. You all think control is power? She shouted over the alarms. It's not. It's trust. It's standing between what you love and what wants to destroy it. The cubs pressed against her legs, sensing her resolve. Their scales shimmered, glowing faintly with bioluminescent veins, the same pulse as her heartbeat. Admiral Zethan stared, realizing what he was seeing. The bond, he whispered. It's expanding. Mara's calm crackled. Cadet Delane, this is the human fleet Argent Dawn. We have visual on your station. Orders? Zethan turned sharply. Orders? You're taking commands from Earth? Mara met his eyes. No, Admiral. I'm giving them. Outside, the stars erupted. Human destroyers slipped from hyperspace, sleek silver hulls cutting through the void like blades. They moved in tight formation, forming a defensive screen around Vale Prime's orbit. The alien instructors stared in disbelief. Humans were outnumbered 10-1. Yet their ships advanced, steady, fearless, deliberate. Zethan muttered, You fools, you'll die. On the comm, a human voice laughed softly. Maybe. But if we die protecting a cub, it's a good death. Mara led her mixed-species cadet unit into the hangar, the cubs bounding beside her. Every instinct told her she should be afraid. Instead, she felt calm, like something ancient had settled in her bones. Flight teams! She shouted. Dravik squadrons, form up on human wings. You trust your commanders, trust me. A Thoran cadet hesitated. You're human. Why should we? The younger cub snarled protectively beside her. Mara grinned. Because this little guy says so? That got a laugh. And laughter, somehow, broke the fear. The first wave hit like a hammer. Ras cruisers descended through the upper atmosphere, unleashing plasma storms that turned the horizon into fire. The Academy's defense cannons fired back, but they were overwhelmed. Then the humans arrived. They didn't fight with precision or restraint. They fought like storms, erratic, creative, terrifyingly alive. One frigate, the Trenton, rammed a Ras destroyer head-on, detonating both ships in a blinding flash. Another squadron used their wreckage as cover to slip beneath enemy shields. In the middle of it all, Mara's small fighter wing dove through the chaos, guided by her empathic link with the cubs. Their sensory field extended through her neural implant, letting her feel every hostile signal like a ripple in her veins. 2 o'clock, hi! She yelled. The Dravik pilots banked without question. They moved as one. Human and alien, synced through something no one could explain. On the ground, Zethan watched the feed in stunned silence. The humans weren't leading through fear. They were leading through feeling. And somehow, it worked. Within hours, the Rask fleet broke formation. Their cruisers retreated, engines crippled. The last transmission from their flagship carried one line of static laced awe. They're fighting with heartbeats. When the battle finally ended, the Academy stood scarred but alive. Smoke drifted through shattered halls. Cadets limped through debris, tending to wounded comrades. In the hangar, Mara knelt beside her cubs, one sleeping, the other licking her bloodied gloves. Admiral Zethan approached, armor scorched, eyes filled with something between pride and disbelief. "You disobeyed every order I gave," he said softly. Mara looked up, smiling faintly. "Yeah, I do that sometimes," he chuckled, shaking his head. "In all my centuries, I've seen empires rise and burn. But never this. You led soldiers who once hated you. You turned beasts of war into protectors." She shrugged. "We just reminded them what family feels like." Weeks later, a memorial was built in the Academy's courtyard. A bronze sculpture of a human cadet kneeling with open arms, a Dravik cub leaping toward her. The plaque beneath it read, "Strength is not in domination. Strength is in the arms that choose to welcome." Final HFY line. When word of the event spread across the stars, alien commanders whispered in awe of humanity's strange, reckless courage. They stopped calling humans fragile. They started calling them something far more dangerous. The species that teaches monsters to love.